Good morning. In this video, I will be talking about a comparison of two things. We often see posts on social media and people sending messages requesting or asking for help. They want people to help them decide between a project management certification like the PMP. I mean, it could be other than the PMP, but the most common question often related to the PMP, or a master's degree in project management. So PMP or MPM. And it's challenging to respond to these questions without maybe being too direct or too open or honest. And obviously, we believe if someone is posting such a questions, they want an honest answer. Now, I usually respond to those questions, and here I'm doing so through this video as well, and where we can share with people who have a question about whether they should pursue a professional certification in project management or a master's degree in project management. The first things we want to say here is that it's hard to compare because it's technically like you're comparing apples and grape or a sport vehicle with a Mini Cooper. Yeah? So it's not something that are readily comparable. Now why? Well, one is whether it's a PMP or something else, or Prince 2 or something else. It's a professional certification, and usually people can obtain that certification with a little bit of study, and maybe, like for example, the PMP require one course, 35 hours of training, which is equivalent to one course in a university semester-based system. Typically, a university semester that follows the semester system, a course is roughly 35 to 39 hours of study. PMI require 35 hours of study in preparation. Some other certifications do not require any preparatory courses. It's up to you how you prepare and study for a given certification. However, what I'm saying is that it's a professional certification obtained possibly after a course or no course by passing an exam. One exam. Prince 2, Foundation, for example, have one exam, 75 question. PMI CAPM is a 3-hour exam. The PMP is a 4-hour exam, and so forth and so on. So it is a professional certification. It could be obtained by passing a single exam after meeting a certain pre-qualification requirements. And it's often, for many of these certifications, a degree, university degree, is not even required. Okay, so that is what certification. Is it popular? Sure. Prince 2 is popular in the UK and among companies who subscribe to the British system. The PMP is probably the most recognized project management certification in the world. It is the most popular, and other certification that may be as popular or not as popular. Obviously, nothing as popular as the PMP in term, I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I think we are closing on 900,000 PMPs around the world today. And now you've always heard me say, popular, that doesn't mean it's the best. Yes, it is recognized, it is the most recognized, and it is popular. So it has value. Now let's put things to the side, whether the PMP or Prince 2 or GPM or another certification, each of those certifications have some value. Great. We have that. Now let's shift to a master's degree. Now, as far as I know, the minimum requirement for a master's degree in most universities is at least 2 semesters or 9 months of study. And usually 4 modules per semester. That means 8 major modules. This is the most basic fastest master's degrees I have seen out there. A typical master's degree in the university system, like the US, for example, is 36 credit hours, which means is somewhat equivalent to 12 courses, each course meaning being 3 credit hours. Of course, in a European system or a quarter-based system, the number of credit might be different, but for example, a typical master's degree in the US, it's 36 hours. Maybe it consists of 30 hours of classwork and 6 hours for a project, or maybe a little bit more out loud for a thesis. But the bottom line, to achieve the master's degree, people have to take, and ideally they should be passing, as many as 8 courses as a minimum. This is assuming the fastest process, which is the 9 semester or 1 year programs, usually about 8 modules or 8 courses, whereas another university or full program will be definitely more than that. So as a minimum, the candidate must pass and take at least 8 to 12 courses if they don't have to put a thesis or work on a project to satisfy the requirement of obtaining the master's degree. So obviously, in terms of learning, in terms of education hours, contact hours, a master's degree is significantly higher in terms of learning content. And of course, assuming it is from a good university, you are working with good professors, and then of course the value could be even higher, especially if the universities also subscribe to the concept of where people have to work in teams on project and they have to deliver a project. So in my view, there is no question about it in terms of learning about the value of the master's degree and how it is different versus a PM certification. Okay? So if nothing else, all things equal, I have no doubt which one I will choose if a candidate comes to apply for me with a certification and limited experience or with a master's degree. Now that brings me to the argument that the people who defend certification about said, the PMP and other certification might require experience. Well, a master's degree, yeah, sure. Some universities do require experience. Like I know I've worked with one university where they required a minimum 3 years experience before they allow somebody in the master's program. However, obviously we are comparing here, assuming a candidate go just for a master's degree with no experience and someone have 3 years experience, in that case I will look at the master's degree as just 1 year experience and I'll compare 3 years experience outside, 1 year with university. Obviously, if I want more experience, I will go with the higher level experience. Just because the certification, it doesn't mean anything. So, to make it clear, two candidates come to me, one with a PMP or Prince 2 and 3 years experience, and one come to me with a master's degree and 3 years experience. If the two candidates have equal type of similar personalities, similar structure, similar knowledge, the only differentiator is whether it's a degree or a PMP, I'll take the degree. No question asked. Okay? But obviously, hiring is not as simple as just looking at a degree. You would want to talk to the person, and I would want to see who is the person who really understands project management, not memorize project management, whether it's the certificate holder or the degree holder. I want to be able to see that they can think, they can apply, they can rationalize what's going on. So these are, in general, a quick comparison between the two item, a certificate, professional certification, and an academic university degree. Now I want to shift to something else related to universities and related to the market. Yes, if the market, when the market hiring manager prefer a certification over a degree, I really have to look beyond the reason for that. And I can visualize 2 major reasons why that would happen, assuming the hiring manager knows what they're doing. One is that they don't to really fully understand the difference between the two. In this case, I refer them to the previous part of the video, and they can compare and understand what the difference between them. There is a perception, of course, that certification is like guaranteed competence. It's not. I don't want to go into certification at this stage. So I'm going to focus on the idea is when the market considers this question, PMP or MPM or MS, degree, Master of Science degree, that's indicate that usually those people, the hiring manager or the recruitment, do not understand the difference between the two, okay? Or, to give them the benefit of the doubt, universities are doing a lousy job in preparing project management and professionals and in their degrees. Maybe they are being too academics where the people are learning how to pass the exam in the university level or just bypassing or getting by rather than really understanding how to apply project management. So again, hiring manager, you need to go beyond those letters, the short letters. You need to understand the candidate experience. You need to understand the candidate background, their ability to think independently, the ability to analyze, not to follow orders or not to follow a memorization technique. This is why we posted, for example, what I call the Ajam Acid interview question, which are really looking, many of them are, it's easy answers, and some of them are challenging because I would want to see how the candidate think, how they can analyze the question. These are the things that are important. So please, I close this video of a message to universities. What do you want to achieve in terms of recognition if your candidates or your graduates go out in the world with a master's degree in project management and they still do not know how to apply the basics of project management? So in this video, my message has been to people who are asking the question about PMP, PM certification, or PM graduate degrees. It is in a way touching on recruiters and managers who hire and what they should look for in the candidate. And of course, at the end, to universities to really look at what they are producing in terms of the graduates. Thank you.